This week's DCS SITREP, we talk about the addition of the C-130J by Aircraft Simulation Company, and Pimax drops as part of that addition a large number of changes, including things to maps such as Media's Cold War map, and numerous aircraft also got updates, fixes, and additions. Welcome back to the DCS SITREP. I'm your host, Prickly Hedgehog. Once again, we're here talking about the world's premier combat flight simulator for the home PC. It's DCS World. It's brought to us by Eagle Dynamics, and we have a brand new aircraft this week to salivate over. And this really bridges a gap, I think, to those of you who enjoy the combat simulation component of DCS World, but don't necessarily want to shoot missiles or fly in anger, while still enjoying the scenery and the pucker factor of coming into hostile environments that Microsoft Flight Simulator doesn't allow you really to do. So we have the best of both worlds now in an aircraft from Airplane Simulation Company, and that is the C-130J. So let's take a look at the little blurb here from Eagle Dynamics and what we can expect from this aircraft compared to what we've seen before. Remember, this brings us a couple of new features in terms of cargo management, a 4-prop engined aircraft, which is also a first for DCS World, and a whole bunch of other stuff that Airplane Simulation Company has introduced, which I'm really looking forward to getting to grips with. So early impressions here, but let's take a look at the blurb. So this aircraft brings one of the world's most widely deployed tactical airlifters into DCS as a fully fledged, deeply simulated module. So there's no question about that statement. This involves a lot of programming. They have some pretty deep systems within the aircraft that have been modeled. So in terms of developing flight plans, in terms of planning your route, in terms of getting the aircraft set up for takeoff, it's particularly involved. And obviously it's designed to have more than one person flying it. So that can be a little bit of a heavy workload for the individual who is trying to get to grips with all of this. Now, they also note here you can purchase this in a couple of different ways. One, through the e-store, naturally enough, and also through Airplane Simulation Company's website directly. So if you want to go directly to the source, you can, or as I said, you can buy it through the e-store. Now, at the heart of the experience of this particular aircraft is the authentic cargo and airdrop gameplay that a lot of you have been asking for. This was something perhaps maybe even 5 or 6 years ago was not something that Eagle Dynamics is really interested in, because they were focused more on the combat simulation within the flight sim environment. Things have changed. The growth of the player base in terms of Microsoft Flight Simulator adding a lot more interest. Now there's scope for this kind of gameplay. So they say here that you can plan and execute ramp-to-ramp logistics, configure and deploy loads, and perform low-level time-on-target airdrops. So it really is the best of both worlds. You can run those longer missions if you like, but still have a combat component. While you're not dropping necessarily bombs, you are dropping critical supplies in a way that needs to reach the desired target. So kind of a cool bridge between, as I said, Microsoft Flight Simulator and DCS World, the best of both worlds there. Plus, it is a lot more interactive than what I have seen anything being done in any other simulation as far as I know. A big portion of that is the first-person Loadmaster mode, which allows you to walk the cargo bay and interact directly with loads and aircraft systems, bringing a completely new style of gameplay to DCS. So this is a big one. This is why this particular module was in development for such a long time. Again, it brings a unique feature to flight simulation that we've never seen before, and I expect this development to continue as time goes on. We'll probably will be seeing updates to this and improvements to these systems, but I think it's absolutely fantastic what they've done here, because it is unique to DCS World and this particular aircraft. So moving on to some of the discussions here, the cockpit is fully interactive and highly detailed. We've kind of discussed that too, featuring modern digital avionics, a HUD, and accurate instrumentation. The professional flight model captures the unique character of this large, powerful turboprop with realistic engine and prop behavior, heavy weight handling, and the challenge of low-level tactical flying in demanding conditions. So this can certainly be a pucker factor. You're coming into hostile environments, coming in low and fast, and then either landing or dropping off items, as I said before, under some duress, and that can be challenging flying. So systems such as the AE2100D3 engines, advanced avionics, cargo management, defensive countermeasures, and damage modeling are all represented to the highest level of fidelity in early access and will continue to be refined as development progresses, as I said before. In multiplayer, you can fly as the pilot, the co-pilot, the navigator, or the loadmaster, sharing cockpit and mission tasks in real time with friends, and that is really cool. So this opens the door to complex cooperative scenarios, coordinated formation airdrops such as CAS support with fighter packages or multi-ship humanitarian operations, again into challenging terrain. So key features that we get at early access: authentic cargo operations, interactive voiced checklist system, real-time ray trace reflections exclusive to the C-130. Now, I have to say that has caused me some issues in VR, bouncing between different views. I found that if you jump to the F10 map and then jump back to the cockpit, the entire world disappears into blackness, and all of the, effectively the MFDs, what are they, the HDDs, or whatever they call them in the aircraft, forgive me if I've got that wrong. Anyway, they disappear, so you can't see your instruments on the flat panels in front of you. I have found that if you turn off the ray tracing, which is an option in the special options features under the C-130, you can turn those off. I was having some issues with the way in which those are operating. Again, this is exclusively related to VR. May not affect other people, but I have seen some other discussion about that experience. So let me know if you've had a similar experience. Obviously, that will be something that will be corrected, hopefully, in the near future. Moving on to first-person Loadmaster experience, I think this is an amazing idea and well beyond what I expected. You know, it's one thing to be able to look out of the doors of the aircraft or the ramp from a Loadmaster perspective, but to actually have a little bit more interactive with the aircraft, that is really cool. We've got the fully interactive cockpit, which we've discussed. We've talked about the realistic flight dynamics. We've talked a little bit about the detailed systems simulation. If you go through SimCedlo's tutorial on the startup, it is very involved. You will be spending some time on the ground, getting the APU started up, checking the battery systems, checking the bleed air pressure systems, so on and so forth. It's quite a bit of involvement. Then you've got to upload your parameters for takeoff, the flight plan, that kind of stuff. So definitely some programming, some button pushing, canceling the circuit breaker stuff, so you don't have problems later on as you go to take off. Really, really cool. Again, a little bit of reference there. Multi-crew, multiplayer, we've talked about that already too, and I think, again, that's just really cool. Dynamic missions, outstanding visual detail, and comprehensive documentation and training. So there are training missions in there, and there is a campaign as well from Baltic Dragon in terms of getting to grips with this aircraft. So it's very involved. It's very, very well done from my initial impressions. And yeah, one of the first aircraft, I guess, in the game which has not so much a flight stick, but a yoke. And of course, it has this massive capacity to do some things that a lot of players really do enjoy. Tactical flying, but you are flying from point A to B, which not everybody likes. A lot of people want to shoot, but there is a growing base of players out there that enjoy the complexity of these kinds of aircraft and the specific missions that an aircraft like this can entail. So I'm very, very pleased with the initial impressions. They're very, very favorable. I was having some trouble getting VR to work as well as what I'd like, so I've done some tweaks there, and I'm still continuing to tweak. Overall, though, aside from those minor idiosyncrasies, which I expect will be ironed out, a hassle for VR, not a big deal. They will be ironed out, I'm sure, but again, in VR, it's an amazing aircraft to fly, and the cockpit looks really good. It's very spacious, obviously. Actually quite good visibility out the front of the aircraft, despite being in an enclosed cockpit with all those windows and things. It's a little tricky to maneuver on the ground. It does take a little bit of finesse. You can't really be too aggressive. You need to manage the speed and things, so there's maybe some tweaks there. Certainly getting a access point for the nose wheel steering is a little bit tricky. I've mapped it to my my Virpal collective, so that I can kind of move that around, and I've also mapped all of the engines to that as well, so I can just turn down or turn up the power. but it is pretty sensitive, and I think some tweaking may be necessary there in terms of curves, so on and so forth. But again, these are small things and always a little bit of a hassle when you first get a new aircraft. There's so many things to map and get sorted out. So very, very early days. But again, my initial impressions are very favorable. Fun to fly, a little bit more laid back in terms of that, and obviously more to get to grips with in terms of landing, probably done takeoffs, and not so much just to slam the throttle and off you go. It's got good lift capacity, so it doesn't take much to get it off the ground because of the massive wing and lift that you've got. So quite a bit different, definitely enjoyable. Enjoy that more laid-back experience. Maybe it's because I'm getting older. But yeah, I think they've done an amazing job from what I'm seeing thus far, especially with all the complexity of the flight dynamics, the system simulation. That is very, very well done. And of course, the cargo crew operations, that is something I'm looking forward to exploring a little bit more. So if you've had a little bit of a tinker with it, let me know what you think in the comment section below.
Engine oil pressure and fuel flow are showing movement. And finally, we'll note the engine lights off, the gearbox pressure is within limits, and that beta shows on the engine display. Okay, you got all that? Let's go. Turn and hold engine 3's starter switch to the start position until the green light comes on.
Now, if you're interested in a little bit of a history of this aircraft, remember that the Hercules, the C-130, has been around for many years. It's one of the oldest aircraft designs still flying. Obviously, it's gone through significant upgrades since then. So it was first developed way back in the early 1950s with requirements needed for the Korean War and lessons learned from there. So it didn't actually fly until 1954, but it's basically been in service ever since and kind of joins the B-52, if you like, in longevity, although not everybody realizes it's actually been around that long. The C-130J was a big improvement over the E, so we had much more power, better lift capacity, better cruise speeds, and also a significant increase in fuel efficiency as well. So better cargo capacity in terms of being able to take the weight, and again just stretch the legs of this aircraft and gave it a lot more power and oomph in the airframe, thanks in part to new engines as well on the turboprops and six-bladed props. So lots of tweaks there in the J, and obviously a much more electronic aircraft over those early versions. A very, very useful utility aircraft. Dozens and dozens of countries use it. It's been pretty much everywhere all over the world. And there actually are some commercial versions as well. And you see there's a livery for Delta Airlines in the livery section too. But this aircraft has flown everywhere, North and South Poles. And as I said, used by just about every nation in the world, certainly in most Western countries and a few others besides. So very, very prolific aircraft, large number of airframes out there, and probably one of the #1 utility aircraft out there for a medium lift, medium range aircraft. So it's going to be, again, a good addition to the game, as we've described, for those of you who enjoy that type of flying.
And finally, let's start engine 1. Okay, all engines have started successfully. Only one more item left, and that is to reset the FedEx one last time.
Now, some of these cargo changes that ED talked about in the blurb regarding the C-130 are not going to be exclusive necessarily to that airplane. So they said that they're releasing several cargo and logistic features that they time together with the C-130J. So these features are universal for DCS and are only limited by aircraft capabilities. They're not exclusively tied to single aircraft. So there's kind of a benefit there. And I know that they worked a lot with Airplane Simulation Company. That was one of the holdups too in terms of getting this aircraft out, working on realistically allowing the parachute physics to work and things like that. And I believe we're also supposed to be getting some new soldiers. So that's going to be part of this airdrop stuff as well. I don't know if I saw any more about that just yet, so stay tuned. Hopefully that's something that comes in the very near future. Now, the updates, they say, will allow players to do more cargo operations. Among them is a cargo airdrop and an API for developers to create their parachute systems for dropped cargo. Additionally, they have added the ability to transport vehicles that is limited by the size of your aircraft cargo bay compared to the transported vehicle size. Now, you could try to load a vehicle that fits your cargo bay. However, if it is too heavy, you won't actually be able to take off because the vehicle's weight is automatically added to the aircraft flight model. Transported vehicles are also considered to be cargo, so in the same way as any other cargo, airdrop will work with them too. The C-130J from ASC will pioneer the usage of this new DCS functionality, which is pretty awesome news. So to improve the gameplay variety in DCS, another cargo and logistics feature they have added is the ability to deploy FARPs from these special cargo assets. Technical implementation of it has been added initially as the task or spawn FARP on unload that you may assign to any cargo item, just like you can assign tasks in advanced waypoint actions, excuse me. So for this task, you are able to choose 3 FARP presets that will correspond to what kind of FARP will spawn in the cargo unloading area. So the team is eager to see the initial usage of this feature, which I haven't used yet. There's a lot of videos out there right now of showing you how to kind of drop some cargo with these new parachute mechanics that we have, which look really cool. And so they're looking forward to receiving feedback from players about that, and also the addition of more presets that expand the FARP constructions depending on the materials that you're bringing to the location. And last here, but certainly not least, their weapons team added the GBU-43 Massive Ordnance Air Blast, the MOAB, which I also haven't tested out yet, with a 3D model provided by the ASC. So they've added bomb logic and guidance and explosive modeling. Currently, the special bomb exists in DCS as a cargo asset with a specific bomb drop procedure that was developed together with their friends at ASC. This is a special case weapon, so use it wisely. They're excited to see how its explosive potential will affect gameplay and the state of the battlefield while continuing to fine-tune as required. So a little bit of work in progress there. A very interesting weapon. Of course, it remains the largest non-nuclear weapon in the US arsenal, as has been discussed previously. So let me know if you've had a little tinker with that. Not really covered in the DCS newsletter was a large number of changes that I mentioned earlier. So this span, of course, everything from DCS core through to campaigns that generally need tweaking and adjustment as the game wears on. Pretty typical stuff. So a couple of focus here. I'm not going to go through the changelog. I'll give you a link to the description for it so you can check it out yourself. But DCS core included things like AI, fixes for ground, air, and sea. There was some changes to weapons, changes to the user interface, quite a few changes to the mission editor, features, a blurb here, which we talked about already with regards to the cargo logistics, referencing some avionics changes, referencing some scripting changes, and some updates to the DTC for the MiG-29 and the F-16 and the FA-18. Naturally enough, the MiG-29 has received quite a few updates, being in early access. So they did some changes, just some general changes listed here, things like engine sounds that are not identical. They did some work on the FCR, the ERST, did some fixes to weapons, and also some fixes and corrections to the navigation and the radio. So again, no real surprises there. That will continue to be tweaked, being very much early access aircraft in the game. Some fixes to the F-16, fixes to the F-18. This included FCR stuff, and external tanks can be refueled when removed. That needs to be corrected, which it was. Quite a few updates here. They have a big update for the AH-64, and more is coming for that. Similarly to now the CH-47, the other big transport aircraft in the game, and there's a little mini update here with regards to the magnetic brake release button in the forum pages, an update to the Mi-8 with regards to civilian liveries, updates to the F1W90, big update from heat blur simulations with regards to the F4 Phantom II. These range from wear and tear damage, the RWR, some crash to desktops, some more updates to the persistent aircraft feature, which was introduced in one of the last patches, and quite a few changes to weapons and systems. So again, refer to the changelog. Similarly, for the F-14, some adjustments to the ALR. They've added flaps and slats changes or failures, and then some AI jiggery-pokery that needed adjustment. The Viggen got some updates. The Mirage got some updates. The F4U-1D Corsair by Magnitude 3 also got some updates. They've added some Japanese ground units, 25mm AA guns, and they corrected the max distance for those. Now, here's a big one. Cold War Germany by Ugra Media, and you may have seen some of their videos being posted online. They've added 19 new airfields. They've added 8 highway strip airfields. They added 6 large cities, 25 unique objects. They made some changes to the RSBN and PRMG beacons. They fixed taxiways at airfields, added parking lots for large aircraft at Gatow and Tempelhof. Leipzig Halle Airport has been renamed, if I can pronounce the Schuditz, and various other fixes and quality of life improvements to, again, improve that map. Remember, that's still in early access. They've done a great job, one of my favorite maps. And then, as I said before, various campaigns, which I won't go through. So pretty typical wrap up here, pretty big patch. Now, this may be the last patch of the year. I'm not 100% certain. There may be a follow-up patch from this. Sometimes you get a quick fix. Again, referencing some of those earlier things with the C-130. So we may see a patch before the end of the year, depending on how glaring the issues are. So stay tuned on that. We're a month out. The end of the year is here, and I hope that those of you who had Thanksgiving and enjoyed it, got to spend some time with family. I was at home here in front of the fire watching Stranger Things, which lived up to expectations, and trying to get into some DCS with the C-130J, which, as I said before, has been absolutely fantastic. We'll leave you now with this is the last month, really, an update from Pimax in terms of being able to get some goodies from them. So don't miss out. Their trading campaign runs out at the end of the year here, and we'll see what 2026 presents. Really interested in the Pimax QLED lenses, both for the Pimax Dream Air and also the Super. So it's an exciting time, as it often is in the VR and the flight simulation world. That will do it for this week. See you next week. This is Prickly Hedgehog out. Cheers. If you're looking to join thousands of others who are enjoying the PC VR journey in flight simulation or racing simulation, then look no further than the Pimax Crystal Lite, which is their entry-level VR headset with some of the best visuals in the business. Right now, the Pimax team is offering a limited time offer trade-in deal on your current headset so that you too can enjoy the clarity of glass-aspheric lenses providing ultra-sharp 2880 by 2880 resolution per eye. Not only that, but the team advised me recently that they have now expanded the trade-in option for the Crystal Super. This is the flagship headset supporting retina levels of clarity, and by taking advantage of this limited option trade-in deal, you'll get the Pimax DMAS headphones valued at $99 and prescription lenses powered by Hans VR up to $159.90. Now, the DMAS gift will officially end on September 14. However, all users who join the event during the campaign are guaranteed to get it. Don't forget to include Prickly Hedgehog 72 when submitting the upgrade form. This ensures you'll receive an extra gift. Now, with this trade-in deal and limited free shipping to the US, EU, UK, Australia, and Canada, it's never been easier to dive into the amazing experience that VR delivers thanks to Pimax. Check out the link in the description below for more information so that you can start your own immersive experience in VR with Pimax.